Welcome to this new section where we will be looking into rate limiting, which is important for performance and security. So let's take some time to understand what rate limiting is and how it helps us with our API. So rate limiting controls the number of requests a client can make within a specific time frame. This helps to prevent abuse and it ensures fairness and protects our back-end systems. So examples of rate limiting rules could be maybe we want to limit 100 requests per minute per user, or we just want to block excess requests beyond a particular limit regardless of who or where they're coming from. So those are things that you want to consider when setting up rate limiting. Now let's get started in our API and set up rate limiting. So it's going to bring us to our program.cs. That's where our journey starts. And in here, I'm just going to go ahead and add a line that says builder.services.add rate limiter. Now, this is simple enough, but we do need a delegate function to configure this. So let's create our options with our method block. And then inside of here, we can define options that allow us to add various types of policies. So here's a sliding window, the fixed window, the token bucket limiter, the concurrency limiter. So each of these is an option, and we also have a global limiter that we can set up. We're going to go through pretty much all of them anyway. So let's just start off with our fixed window limiter. So this allows us to define a name. I'm going to call it fixed. And then we can define some options using, once again, a delegate. And inside of this delegate method, we can define things like the window for the fixed limit, right? So opt.window allows us to define a time span. And here I can say time span from minutes, let's say 1 minute. Other things I can do is give it like a permit limit, and that's the maximum number of permit counters that can be allowed. So here I'm going to set this to, let's say, 100. And there are several other things we can do. I'm going to go ahead and set up a queue processing order, and this queue processing order basically determines the behavior when there aren't enough resources leased, and the queue limit would be the number of queued requests before the cutoff. Now, since we're experimenting, I'm actually going to reduce this permit limit to, let's say, 5. So if 5 requests come in within a minute, then we should have a cutoff. Obviously, 5 would not be a practical value for production. Now, after setting up the rate limiter service, the next thing we want to do is add the middleware to our pipeline. And notice where I've placed it in the pipeline, because once redirection happens, I want to check if we have a rate limiter in place, if there's some policy that should block that request. Otherwise, yes, go ahead and go down the pipeline. So placement is very important. The next thing that we want to do is modify some controller or action that we want to add the rate limiter to. So at the top here, I'm going to add a new attribute called enable rate limiting, and it's going to ask for a policy name. We can pass in fixed. So with those changes, let's do a quick test. And to spare you watching me click, but I clicked each of these endpoints that you see with the red X 5 times. And the result was that we got this timeout error. So for the first few times, we got the data. And then after a while, it just timed out. So something is working, but having a timeout is not quite the way that we want this dealt with. So we can go back over to our program.cs and we can add a little bit more code so that the calling client has a bit more context as to why they are not receiving the data. So I'm going to go ahead and increase our options listings here to add rejected status code, and the status would be 429 too many requests. So this is the RESTful standard for, well, too many requests. Anytime you have rate limiting, 429 tells when that rate limit has been hit. Just for testing purposes, I'm going to make this 1 so that it's quicker to test. All right. So let us go ahead and run again. And after 2 requests, I'm getting that 429 response, and it's telling me to retry after 60 seconds. So let's try another scenario. I have another policy prepared here, And this one is going to be on a per user basis. So let's walk through it. Options.add policy, and then we give that policy a specific name, set the context, and then we're going to try and get that identity from the context. And this context here embodies the HTTP context. Now, here we're saying get me the user. So if it's an authenticated user, we'll know. If it's not an authenticated user, it's anonymous. Now, this is very important to realize that for an endpoint like the country's endpoint, where anonymous access is allowed, that means that anybody who is an unauthenticated user is going to fall underneath this category. So if I request it too many times, that will affect another anonymous user. So bear that in mind. So here we're going to return a rate limit partition, and we're setting a sliding window limiter. So this means we're creating a partitioned limiter, one per instance key, and the key here would be the username. So in setting this, we have to provide that partition key, which is our username, and then we set up our options. So in our options, we're defining our window. So within 1 minute, each minute is going to be covered by this window pretty much. And then a user can make up to 50 requests. We have 6 segments, so 10 seconds each segment pretty much, because this is 60 seconds, so 10 seconds per window. And then we're going to process the oldest first. So this is similar to what we saw earlier, where when multiple requests come in, we're going to process them in, first out format pretty much. And then we set a queue limit of 3, meaning only 3 extra requests per user can be queued before being rejected. And if we wanted to use this policy, I think a good place to put it would be in our hotel bookings controller, since most, if not all, of these endpoints are driven by some user identity. Well, the entire thing is authorized. So I would enable that rate limiting per user so that each user can, access this within specific limits. Now going back to the program.cs, I'm going to introduce one more policy, and that is a global policy. And this one is going to limit based on the IP address. Now across the board, we just want to make sure that nobody builds a bot to ping the API and possibly engage in a denial of service attack. So that's where the security aspect of rate limiting comes in. So we can set up a global limiter where we say partitioned rate limiter.create. We're taking the HTTP context and setting a string here, and we're getting that IP address from the HTTP context. So at any point we get that IP address. If we can't find it, then we just flag it as unknown. But the most important part here is that we're setting up a fixed window, very similar to, well, actually this is a fixed window similar to our fixed window limiter that we started off with, where we're limiting based on the IP address. And within a minute, any one IP address is permitted 200 calls. Now, once again, these numbers are not necessarily my giving a recommendation. I'm setting numbers, but always set numbers that are unique to your context, because 200 requests from one IP address is kind of suspicious, right? So you'd probably want to say within a minute, you're limiting that to 50 to 10, right? It depends. So always set these values based on what you think is necessary for your system and your resources. And then we have the same queue processing order and queue limit. So this will allow, or restrict rather, access to the API from any one IP address that's coming in too often within the space of a minute. Now this is global, so we don't have to cherry pick where we're putting this policy. So unlike the other two, where we actually created the policies and cherry picked, this one is global. So all in all, go ahead and play around with this. Make sure you make your decisions based on your system and based on your resources.